Be honest with me for a second. Does the thought of speaking into a microphone, knowing hundreds, maybe thousands of people will hear you make your stomach drop? Don't worry, my friend, you are not alone because research shows that nearly 77% of people experience some level of anxiety about public speaking. But let me tell you this, what most people call fear is really just untapped energy. And when you learn how to redirect that energy, it becomes the very thing that makes you magnetic on podcasts. And in this video, I am going to show you how we make entrepreneurs who are nervous, hesitant, even terrified of interviews and turn them into unforgettable podcast pros who sound confident, powerful, and captivating. I want to be real with you for a minute. When I first decided to promote my coaching business on podcast a few years ago, I was terrified. Not because I didn't know my message or didn't have a great story. I did. But I was terrified because my English wasn't that great. I was still learning and trying to improve it. My accent was thicker than it is today, and sometimes people had to ask me to repeat myself because they just couldn't understand me. Do you know how discouraging that feels? To wonder if your words will even land, if your story will even matter. And the little voice in my head wasn't making things any easier. I will hear in my head, of course, Christelle, who do you think you are? Why will anyone invite you on their show? What if you stumble? What if they can't even understand what you say? I could have listened to that voice and said to myself, you know what? Forget it. This whole podcast guessing thing is just not for me. But I knew that if I wanted to help people, if I wanted to be heard, I just couldn't let it win. So I had to learn how to silence it. I showed up anyway on podcasts, even when my confidence was shaken. And the more I did it, the very things I thought disqualified me, such as my accent, my vulnerability, my imperfections, became the reasons people leaned in. That's when I realized something powerful. Fear doesn't mean that you are not ready. Fear simply means that you care. You care about doing a good job. You care about making a difference, etc. And if you can learn to work with it instead of against it, that same nervous energy becomes your greatest advantage. So let's talk about how to actually do that. Because I know you have felt it too at some point. The racing heart, the dry mouth, the voice in your head whispering, what if I mess up? That's where we begin. Exactly there to deal with that fear and that little voice. The first thing I want you to understand is that fear is not your enemy. I think I mentioned that previously, but it's important to say that again. Fear is not your enemy. It's not here to stop you from showing up. Fear is simply your brain trying to keep you safe. You have experienced things in your life that have caused you shame or pain, and your brain has put in place a system to protect you from future pain. For instance, when you were little, maybe you spoke up in class and someone laughed. Or maybe you shared something and someone told you it wasn't good enough. That hurt, right? And your brain remembered. So it built a safety system. And now every time you try to do something new, such as a stage, a mic, a podcast interview, that safety system kicks in. Your heart starts racing, your palms sweat, your chest tightens. Not because something is wrong with you, but simply because your brain is saying, be careful, don't get hurt like last time. The problem is that your brain doesn't know the difference between real danger, like a lion chasing you, and perceived danger, like sharing a story on a podcast. It reacts the exact same way. It hits the alarm button. That's why fear feels so strong in your body, but You have to remember that it's just your brain trying to protect you. So, what do you do about it? Let me share a few things that I teach my clients and that you can try. First, the body reset. Put your feet flat on the ground. Breathe deeply through your nose and into your belly. Exhale twice as long, meaning if you inhaled for, let's say, 3 seconds, exhale for 6 seconds. Lastly, smile. Even if you feel silly, just do it because your brain reads a smile as safety. So when you do this for about 90 seconds, you will feel your nervous system calm down. Second, the conversation with your brain. That's what you need to do next. Have a conversation with your brain. Instead of fighting those negative thoughts, such as, what if I mess up? What if I make a fool of myself, etc.? I show my clients how to agree with them. Yes, because guess what? Your brain is not wrong. It's not making all those things up. Those are possibilities. So you let that little voice in your brain, tell you all the bad things that could happen. And you literally say, you're right. There is a chance I could mess up. I could make a fool of myself. I could forget what to say. When you do that, your brain sees that you are on the same page and it relaxes. It doesn't have to fight anymore to try to convince you because it sees that you heard the warning and you get it. And from that place of calm, you can now offer it a better story to focus on. It looks like this. All those things can happen, but what if we nailed it? What if this was the interview that impacted hundreds of listeners? What if this is the moment my ideal clients finally see me as the go to expert? And here is the magic, your brain works like a computer. When you give it a task, it starts looking for ways to complete the task. So the moment you tell that new story, your brain starts to focus on that and your body follows. The racing heart that felt like fear start to feel like excitement. The sweaty palms, the butterflies, they become energy you can now use in your favor. That's how you turn your fear into fuel. Another big objection I hear very often is, but what if they ask me a question and I don't know what to say? That question simply shows a lack of confidence, and confidence comes from preparation. You don't have to be born with it. At my agency, Exposure Maven, we walk clients through a proven interview readiness framework. And that framework has three main steps. The step number one is the signature stories. We identify three stories that showcase your expertise and help the audience to know the person behind the brand. We select stories that land emotionally and stick in the listener's mind. The step two of that framework is topic clarity. Together, we come up with 3 to 5 talking points you can always return to. That way, you have anchor points that allow you to pivot back smoothly. You never feel lost. The step three is mock interviews. We rehearse with real questions, interruptions, and unexpected turns. So when it's show time for a real interview, nothing takes you by surprise. You are prepared. Once we have done this, you stop fearing the unknown. You start thinking, no matter what comes my way, I actually know what to respond. That's the foundation of magnetic presence on interviews. Another objection I hear all the time is, Christelle, what if I ramble? What if I start telling a story and go off in 50 directions? Or what if I don't know how to use my story in a way that supports my message? I get it. You have seen or probably heard podcast guests lose the audience because they wonder. And you don't want that. You don't want to be that guest. There is something important to understand. Rambling is not a flaw. It's fear in disguise. And we know how to deal with fear, don't we? It's simply your brain trying to fill the silence, trying to find your point because it doesn't want to get stuck. But without structure, that mechanism that your brain has in place becomes self-sabotage. So here is how I teach clients to avoid it, and you can do it too. Use a story plus lesson plus takeaway structure. Every personal story you tell should have a clear what happened moment, a what I learned moment, and what you can do to moment. That gives your brain a direction. So it doesn't wander, it doesn't go to 50 different directions. You can also use anchor points. Before you begin, pick two or three anchor points, such as themes, phrases, examples you will land on. As you tell your story during the interview, if you drift too far, you come back to those anchors. You can also use the brain conversation technique. When the thought, what if I ramble, comes up, don't silence it. Speak to it. Just say, you're right, I could ramble. That's a possibility. Then you shift. But what if I land this story so powerfully that listeners lean in? What if it triggers transformation for someone listening? That new framing gives your brain a safer, more inspiring direction. The energy shifts in your body and you stop fearing the rambling. You are instead ready to guide the audience. I also recommend practicing what I call the trim test. So, for the trim test, you simply want to record yourself, listen back, and ask, if I took out 20 seconds, would the message still land? And if the answer is yes, you remove the 20 seconds. If the answer is no, you refine the way you tell the story. This trains your brain to prioritize clear, tight storytelling. All these strategies help you avoid rambling. You don't have to use them all. Pick the one that is most effective and that helps you share your stories in a way that lands powerfully and make listeners want to listen to you till the end. Maybe right now you are thinking, okay, Christelle, this sounds great, but I'm not ready. I'm not ready yet to be interviewed on podcasts. That's the biggest trap of all because confidence doesn't come first, action does. But I also know you don't want to walk into an interview unprepared. That's why I created something for you, your podcast guesting assessment. It's simply a free quiz that shows you exactly where you stand right now. You'll discover in less than 2 minutes what are your strengths, what gaps are holding you back, and the next steps to become a confident, compelling podcast guest. So instead of sitting in the I am not ready yet loop, you get clarity, you'll know exactly what to work on, and you might actually be more ready than you think. Because I know from my personal experience and working with clients that the first interview is never perfect, but it's always the most powerful because once you take it, the momentum builds fast. Hosts invite you back, audiences follow you, clients reach out saying, I heard you on so and so podcast. How can we work together? So don't let uncertainty keep you invisible. Click the link in the description to take the quiz, find out your readiness score, and let's get you moving toward the shows that are looking for experts just like you. And here's the thing, once you know where you stand, the next question becomes, okay, how do I actually land these podcast interviews and make the most of them? That's exactly where we step in. At Exposure Maven, we don't just book you on top 5% podcasts and wish you luck. We make sure you shine once you are there. That's why we offer done for you targeting, pitching, and guaranteed bookings. We do interview preparation sessions to build your confidence, empowerment coaching to reframe nerves into presence, provide you with a custom marketing strategy to turn every interview into authority that creates ripple effects. That's the whole system. And it's why our clients don't just get featured, they get remembered as powerful, inspiring guests. I have a question for you. Are you tired of being the best kept secret? You have built a business, you have gotten the results, but outside of your network, too many people still don't know your name. And I am here to tell you that your voice belongs on the biggest stages. And the right podcast interviews could be the turning point where everything changes. Visibility, authority, demand. And now that you know how to overcome your fear of public speaking, I want to leave you with this. Fear is not a stop sign, it's energy waiting to be directed. Confidence isn't something you need to be born with. It can be built step by step. And you can start applying the few tips and strategies that I've shared in this video and see how it helps. Authority isn't about perfection, it's about presence. Now imagine yourself 90 days from today, booked on top podcast your ideal clients listen to, speaking with clarity and confidence you never thought possible, and watching new opportunities roll in because people finally hear and watching new opportunities roll in because people finally heard your voice. That's the future waiting for you. So don't silence yourself any longer. I have created your podcast guesting assessment free quiz to help you find out how ready you are to be featured on top tier podcast. In less than 2 minutes, you will know your readiness score and receive personalized guidance on your next steps based on your results. Comment podcast ready below and I'll send you the link, or simply click the link in the description to take the quiz. You are ready to be a guest, to take the quiz, to take the quiz. I know if you apply everything that we have shared in this video, you will be an amazing guest next time you will be interviewed. You will have more confidence in your speaking abilities, and you will know how to position your story to connect with listeners.